Yeah.
Welcome to the WiseTake DFS podcast. I'm your host, CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. We're here live with Patio Joe. You can find him on Twitter at Patio Joe Ref. Joe, how was your weekend, man?
Very good, man. Doing birthdays on Tuesday, so doing some birthday things, and having a early party. So it took a couple days off from DFS, but had a good weekend.
Oh man, that's always nice. It's always nice to do that, and well, obviously, wish you a happy birthday on your actual birthday. But on behalf of the viewers, the listeners, and your team over here at Team WiseTake, happy early birthday, Joe.
Thank you. Yes, it's the big 4-0. So.
Oh, no kidding, the big 4-0, huh?
Yeah, I am.
That's a big one, man.
Yeah, it is definitely. I didn't. When my dad turned 40, I thought he was so old. I don't feel old at all. So.
Age is just a number, man. Age is just a number.
Mm-hmm.
So you said you actually took you took a couple days off. So I'm gonna fill you in on how my Sunday went. So I was unfortunately one of those Justin Verlander victims that you might have seen on Twitter. Yeah, I don't know if you read some of the Twitter tilts earlier, but I was one of those guys. Yeah, I had a ridiculous lineup over 200 points with a 9 from Justin Verlander. Man. I had Cozart double dong. I had Benintendi double dong. I had Upton who had a walk-off homer in the ninth. And I made this monster score, and I got a 9 from my pitcher. I did cash a little bit, but come on, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. I saw some of the scores, and I was just like, man, 210 points was like mid-cashing on a 50-50.
Oh, man.
It's just crazy.
It was wild, man. And it seems weird, but it seems like ever since that day with DeGrom, the trend has kind of been to just find the top pitcher on the slate and just target against him. That's been that's been the GPP trend. I mean, even picking pitchers, even the other day when you were on the show last, we talked about Strasburg against the A's. All of a sudden, Strauss can't strike anybody out. All of a sudden, it's just, and you know what? Listen, don't get me wrong. I played Scherzer that night. I'm sorry, I played Kershaw that night. But only because I was just like, you know what, the way things are going, it seems like, I don't know, it seems like he's the obvious clear play, just like DeGrom was that day over Scherzer, and DeGrom busted. So I was like, I'm just going to go with Kershaw because I feel like, it's a similar situation. And sure enough, he didn't have a bad game. Boy, he had 2 strikeouts, and it was the 6th or 7th inning already. After 15 strikeouts in his previous game, it's just like, wow, sometimes in baseball, man, that variance just.
Yeah. I actually wound up playing. I had Strasburg in cash that day, and I cashed.
Right. Yeah. He wasn't terrible. He
got about 7 strikeouts, and he went 7 innings.
Right.
He just didn't have, I guess, what we expected him to have. He only gave up 2 hits.
Yeah.
So I mean, in the scheme of things, he pitched well. Kershaw just struck out 14, and he's just dominated.
Yeah.
But it did afford me to get some other bats in, and I still wound up cashing. Pretty easily too, but it was because I picked the right bats though. If I didn't, he didn't. Strasburg got. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to get him up here. He got me. He was about 46 points. So
yeah. So exactly, he didn't kill you or anything like that. I mean, it's Strasburg against the A's. He wasn't gonna kill you. It was just that was one of the benefits, but. But it just seems strange, man. It seems like all the top guys. I mean, like in the Sale today, he got I was expecting him a really strong start coming off that game where he went back home to Chicago and he got beat up a little bit, and the Orioles beat him up a little bit too, man. He and it was just, and Verlander got rocked, and then you got Severino, who's the obvious, he's a great tournament play and whatnot, but it's just you were worried because especially when you're looking at his numbers, his road robo was rough, and then Toronto's been hot, so you don't really know what to do there. And then he ended up being the guy that kind of stole the show for that slate, right? Edinson Volquez the other day, freaking pitching a no hitter. I mean, come on, this is
Yeah, nobody had him at all. I would have been surprised.
Oh, yeah.
If somebody had him, I guess if you probably did pretty well if you did.
Yeah, I didn't, but yeah, if those of you guys who played him, yeah, you probably did really well. Not a lot of people did. I know that because I saw in the, something that was interesting before we dive into these games, Joe. You were talking about what was it? About like a cash game template almost, right? Like it's something that that obviously I think it's worth sharing. So some of the ideas you were saying, like there's some scenarios where you pay down at certain positions in cash games, and it really simplifies the process. You want to talk about it just a little bit?
Yeah. Okay. So when you have like these big slates and there's so many games, there's 15 games, so there's so many players to look at, and you don't really have a lot of time. So basically, I was taught that there's basically just a basic outline when you're definitely going to pay up at pitcher. So you want like the best pitcher on the slate, Kershaw, Strasburg, whatever. So maybe let's just say over 10,000 on FanDuel. Generally speaking, the outline that I follow, and I've had some success in it lately, has been pay down at catcher, pay down at second base, pay down at shortstop, and one outfield position. And if you do that, it seems to be working to me, and then you can afford the bats at first base, third base, and then two outfield positions, because you're going to get most of the production comes out of first base and third base. Those were the home runs come out of, and then of course the two outfield positions. So if you stick to that, I think it's just it's a broad basic outline. I'm not saying don't go for Gary Sanchez if you like him. I'm not saying don't pay up for Xander Bogaerts or Trey Turner if it's depending on the slate, because sometimes you do like the second baseman or the shortstop, and you want to pay up. So that means maybe then look down for it. Maybe there's a $3,000 third baseman that Moustakas or something that still could be a pretty good cash game play. So it's about finding your comfort zone and what you can kind of looking at the prices once the lineups come out too. That's the most important thing. Once the lineups come out, okay, well now Dixon Machado is leading off and he's 2,200, or like today Descalso was 2,100 and leading off. That's an auto cash play. It's almost takes, even if I liked a second baseman a little bit like Altuve, no, I'm going Descalso, because that will now afford me those big bats, the guys that will hit me the 3 home runs, the Springers, or the guys that are really hot, the guys that are that are 5K or 4K. So
yeah, I think that, and again, it's like a template. It's just like your template. Like you were saying, if you like Gary Sanchez on this particular slate, or a lot of it you have to compare it with like position scarcity, right? And we talk about that in the NBA a lot. If a position is weak, like for instance, why is it always a good idea to pay down at second base, catcher, and shortstop? Because those are weak positions. There's tons of powerful outfielders, and like the only reason that you punt an outfielder is because because you usually can. There's usually value. There's so many outfielders that you can find value down there. So it's a template, and I think it's a good one. It's the same kind of mantra that I use. Jed Lowry, I play him in cash a ton, and lately that's been working out. It's not going to always work. Like you said, there's no foolproof plan where you're going to win 100% of the time. But yeah, I think it's a great template show. Anyway, man. So the chat's getting all fired up. They're talking about some of the stacks that they like. Oh yeah, Miranda, man. The WiseTake model that we've been working on over here had Miranda rated highest, rated number 1 on the late slate tonight. And wow, man, he did not disappoint me. No, he did not. He pitched a great game, man. So shout out to Eric over there, who's handling our data on Team WiseTake, and we got some great stuff coming, Joe. I'm telling you, man, we got some great stuff coming.
Yeah, no, Mr. Orange Man that was talking about paying down at whatever position has value. I agree. It's definitely slate dependent, but generally speaking, I will say that those, like you said, those positions that I named are the weakest positions when it comes to home runs, WOBA, RBIs. You're going to have the least amount, so it's all right to pay down. And yes, Jed Lowry, you every day. He is in a lineup for cash. You play him at second base until they raise his price. He's an auto play, unless maybe he's hitting against one of the top pitchers in the game. Besides that, you play him right now for cash until they raise it above 25 or 2,600.
Oh yeah, I'm with you, man. All right, man. So you ready to jump into this was a 7-game slate over here on Monday, right?
Yeah.
All right,
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. We're starting off. We got Carlos Martinez of the St. Louis Cardinals visiting Asher Wojciechowski of the Cincinnati Reds. Looks like it's about 83 degrees. Now, go figure. He's the only pitcher we have that in that double digit pricing, and it looks like he could have some rain. 53% chance of some light rain. Go ahead, Joe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously the rain, it kind of scares you just a little bit because even today in Kansas City, there was rain, and then if anybody had Bauer, I guess, he was done after an inning in the third because there was a big rain delay. So I would definitely look at the weather. As much as I like Carlos Martinez, for some reason I'm just kind of like I'm not really enthused by him tomorrow. He had a great outing last week against the Dodgers, put up 58 points at home. But he's going against a Cincinnati club. We do like the bats. They can score some runs. Votto, Schebler, if Scooter Gennett, if he plays, those are the lefty bats you got to worry about. Hamilton obviously steal a base. And on the other side, the Cardinals, you definitely want to stack their bats against this Asher Wojciechowski guy. Even one-offs, Carpenter. Piscotty had a good game today. So, yeah, look at this game. Definitely look into it more. I'm probably going to be fading Martinez because I think he's just going to be the highest owner, and there's other places you can go with just as much upside.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I know a lot of people are going to end up thinking that's kind of a hot take to fade Martinez. But you know what, man? I'm kind of with you, man. Like, listen, in cash games, it's a whole different story. It's going to depend on if you can find somebody else that you consider stable enough. Because Martinez is stable enough, I think. And he's got the K upside. The thing is, a lot of times it's not just what K upside the pitcher has. A lot of time it's also what K upside does that lineup bring. And Cincinnati has not been striking out as much as maybe people would like them to or have them used to. Now it's lineup dependent. One guy can make all the difference. One guy being seen by the pitcher 3 times, that's the potential for 3 more Ks. So it's a big difference. So one thing about Martinez is he does get hit pretty hard by lefties. Now he's dominant against righties, especially on the road. I mean, he's just dominant against righties. So Peraza, Cozart, Duval Suarez, there's a lot of righties on this lineup. However, Votto, man, he's got to get by Votto. I'm a little concerned about him and Votto. I like Votto a lot in this spot. As a one-off or in a stack, I like Votto, but I think I like the bats in this game more so than the pitching itself. It's a higher total. We've seen Martinez has been great lately. Don't get me wrong, he's been great lately. It's just, listen, I know it's going to be some light rain, but it is going to be a little warm, 83 degrees, some humidity, 60%. It's a small ballpark to begin with, so I don't feel comfortable with Martinez. I really don't. I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got Nick Pivetta of the Philadelphia Phillies visiting Bartolo Colon of the Atlanta Braves. Looks like we have some light rain here also. 60% chance of precipitation. Go ahead, Joe.
I love this game. This is the double stack of the night. This is definitely my double burger of the night. You got this guy, Nick Pivetta, Italian, pitching against the Braves. The Braves are back at home. They are just crushed last weekend or today. And then you got Bartolo Colon, who couldn't even get a terrible Angels lineup out last time out. And now he's pitching against the Phillies, who destroyed the Giants today. So both of these teams are coming off of good offensive performances. They have some good momentum going. So I like all the lefty bats in this game. I really like, because of that short porch in right field. Do not play any of the pitchers. I guess if you're crazy, you could go with Pivetta, but Colon, he's lost it. He's on one of his last few starts, I think, in his career. So stack this game.
Well, we know Bartolo Colon has been terrible. The Angels are one of the worst offenses in baseball. They were without Mike Trout, and they just destroyed this guy in their ballpark, which is huge. And so I'm not expecting to see Colon do too well. The Phillies had a pretty good game. They had a pretty good series against the Giants with a good amount of runs. And they faced some pitchers that were better than Bartolo Colon. So, yeah, I'm with you, man. I like the bats on both sides here. Pivetta, the problem with Pivetta is the sample size, right? We don't know much about him. We haven't seen enough of him. Okay, I could look on the stats, and it says he has a high K percentage. But but on a small sample size, there's too much variance in baseball. You really can't take it into account because you know what? His WOBA numbers are pretty high. I'm seeing in the chat here that Cologne has good BVP versus his BVP versus the Phillies is really good. Listen, when he was on the Mets, Cologne got it done. Like when he was on the Mets, you didn't target against him because he just didn't get rocked. It just hasn't been the case this season. Every year he gets older, it's a bigger step. Like, if Mike Trout gets a year older, it's no big deal. But if Bartolo Colon gets a year older, it's kind of a big deal. And now you put him in this new ballpark that's designed for left-handed power. It's tough, man. It's really tough. I mean, Cesar Dubal Herrera, he's been terrible. He finally woke up a little bit today. Michael Saunders, I think he was out of the lineup. He had a day off. He's always a threat. He was a big hitter over in Toronto last year. So, yeah, man, I like the bats on both sides for sure.
Well, yeah, and somebody's saying the good BVP. Yeah, but I have one of my top BVP plays tomorrow, Cesar Hernandez, who is 9 for 26, 346 average against Bartolo. So, he hits him well. Cameron Rupp is another guy who has hit Bartolo Colon well. So I know you don't want to really play Rupp. He always screws us. So definitely, just take a look at it. But, yeah, I like the Phillies.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
I think the public will be on them, too.
Oh, yeah. So. Without a doubt, I think that they're going to be chalky because, believe it or not, there were a lot of people who didn't play the Angels against them. There were, so I can see that being choppy. Yeah, Fuego's over in the chat, and he's got a couple of his Fuego flames next to Adams. He's been hot, man. Adams has been red hot. So looks like Fuego has a little bit of love for Matt Adams at 2.8 on FanDuel for the Atlanta Braves. So don't sleep on the Braves offense either. They're coming back home. So I'm with you, man. Mm-hmm. All right, we got Jeff Samardzija of the San Francisco Giants visiting Junior Guerra of the Milwaukee Brewers.
Okay, so this is the game I really am interested in for a pitching aspect. I think the public is going to be on one of these two pitchers. I personally, I kind of like Junior Guerra. The main reason why is he's a little unforgotten, and because he was hurt, he's been hurt all year. But last year, he pitched pretty well, and I'm looking up his stats right now. And so last year he went 9-3. He, and most of the reason why I like him tomorrow is because I just don't like the Giants' offense very much. So that's why I like him better than anybody else. And then Samardzija, he obviously has the K upside, and he obviously can, be successful. I just think that the Brewers are hitting the ball pretty well. So, yeah. So let me see here. We got, Guerra went 9-3, 2.81 ERA last year, 20 games started. He is, let me see what his Sierra was last year, because he's been hurt this year, so it's kind of hard to really get like a feel for how successful he's been. But let's see, he's a 4.42 Sierra, so not great, but not terrible. And let me see, last thing here, he had a good start, his last start, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 40 points against the Mets, 6 innings, quality start. So of the other pitching options, I think I like him the best.
You're talking about Guerra.
Guerra, correct.
Yeah. Well, the Giants recently they showed some pretty good offense down in Philadelphia. But I'm with you, man. Guerra is pretty good. I don't like targeting against it. Listen, when he first came on the scene, I targeted against him all the time. It was great. He shut down one of my offenses one night, and it just killed me. This is like a year. I think it was sometime last year. And I never targeted against him again. And I played him a couple of times. He's pretty good. My problem here is not about him. My problem is with these pesky Giants because they're kind of good for nothing. What I mean by that is, they're not really going to kill you with bats all the time. However, they don't really strike out a ton either. So that's my issue. Now, don't get me wrong. Guerra's at home. I like his chances there, but it's still a small ballpark. And so it's tough. Now, on the other side with Samardzija, I think he's going to be one of the more popular options, I would imagine. I would imagine that Martinez and him would be the two guys that people would feel more safe with. And I get it. I don't mind that because there are a lot of righties from Milwaukee. Like in cash, I wouldn't hate either of those guys. Probably I would prefer Martinez probably. just because at least he has some kind of strikeout upside. But in tournaments, man, like I don't know, I'm not crazy about like Thames, man. Thames seems like a serious problem for Samardzija. He has problems against lefties. So Thames and Shaw's been hitting pretty good. These Brewers in general, they've been hitting some pretty good pitching. So I like the Brewers bats a little bit here. You know, at the same time, as much as I would like Guerra, it's just there's a lack of strikeouts in this lineup for me. Now, if it depends on the lineup. If we see like today, the lineup they put out today against these Phillies had like a 16% strikeout rate. That's not going to get it done. Like I'll play a Kershaw against that, or I'll play somebody like that. But Guerra, he's got like a 7K per night at home over the last 2 years, so it's like it's different. 19.93%. It's not, But listen, in a tournament, man, the way things have been going, Edison Volquez was the pitcher you needed the other night. A guy with 0 strikeout upside, wasn't in a good strikeout matchup, and he got it done. So you know what, man, I can't shut it down. That's for sure. All right, we got Dan Straley of the Miami Marlins visiting Eddie Butler of the Chicago Cubs. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, Dan Straley, he's a guy that's been successful this year, and I haven't played him. He's been fairly consistent, 57, 31, 38 his last 3 starts. I don't believe in him, and I know he has some good starts, but I'm not buying it. He's playing the Cubs, and even though the Cubs haven't been hitting very well, I still wouldn't go against them. So I might target against Straley because he can always blow up. So Rizzo, all the lefty bats I like. Check on the weather. If it's blowing out, you definitely like him even more. And on the other side, Eddie Butler, he has too small of a sample size to really get a really grasp on what type of pitcher he is. But the Marlins have been hot, so I say play them. If you feel good and you like the matchup, I have no problem with any of their big bats.
Yeah, it's interesting. I want to see what this total is because I know you're not a Straley guy, but I kind of been riding Straley like that last big number he put up. I was on him a lot. I don't mind Straley in the spot in tournaments. I wouldn't dare put it in cash against the Cubs, but in tournaments I don't mind him. He's 8.5. The Cubs offense does strike out a ton. Like, listen, they're powerful, but if they're not hitting and if Rizzo and Brian and specifically, if these guys aren't hitting, the whole team kind of goes with them. So listen, Straley's swinging strikeout rate over the last 2 years, swinging strike rate, I should say, is 10.6%. So far this year, it's 12%. He's doing something right. And the Cubs, like for instance, even their lineup today, they're a scary offense to go against. A 354 team WOBA in 2017, based off the lineup they put out tonight, which I think it should be similar. They didn't even have Contreras in that lineup, so I would imagine he's going to get the start going into this. And then their team ISO without Contreras is 199 with the lineup tonight. Those are strong numbers, so it's scary. But in tournaments, it's kind of sometimes you have to play that funky guy. Especially, I would say this is a weaker pitching slate. I know that there's guys you don't mind, but there's nobody you love. Nobody's in a spot that you just can't pass up. So kind of like how you pay down at second base or catcher or whatever. In tournaments, this is a situation where I would rather kind of pay down at pitcher, meaning get away from Carlos Martinez. Now, of course, obviously, if he goes off, then I'm done. And it's very possible. He's got good stuff and he's dominant against righties. But I don't mind. I kind of like Straley, man. Listen, his road numbers in the past were bad. I get it. But he's different. There's something about him that's different. His Ks are up. And I think he has the upside, and he has a decent lineup. On top of that, as of right now, it looks like 66 degrees, which I don't expect the ball to fly from that. And as of right now, the wind is supposed to be blowing in from left field 18 miles an hour. If those winds are blowing in, I think I'm going to like Straley a lot more, but I really don't mind him. As far as the other side, I'm not crazy about Butler. Miami's offense has been hot. Now, what I just said about the wind kind of scares me off of the Miami bats. I want to play them, but going up against that wind, then you're looking at guys like maybe Justin Bour or obviously Giancarlo Stanton. But I don't know. It's tough. The weather makes it kind of tough, man. This slate is not easy. It's a 7-game slate, and it's not like nothing is really that clear, right?
Well, yeah. The thing is that you're going to be able to get any stack or any bats you want tomorrow. And in some ways it's a very comforting feeling, but in other ways it's like you almost can shoot yourself in the foot by trying to make too many lineups. Fuego. So try and, just kind of streamline it.
Fuego.
So kind of streamline it, and get the players that you like, get the stacks you want, maybe a couple variations of the stacks. And then there's going to be some good one-offs in each game. So Yeah.
Yeah. You know, one thing that I'll say, I feel like, listen, with any sport, you want to be following something statistical, just to make you feel comfortable playing that sport, and you want statistics backing your plays. But in tournaments, it's not going to be there sometimes. Sometimes wacky things that are not supposed to happen are going to happen. Sometimes guys in the best spots, they're not going to hit. And sometimes it seems impossible. So what you need a way to get a stats. You need a model. You need something, some type of research method. And you need to format that out. And then after that, you need to start learning game theory. You need to start learning identifying the chalk, identifying the pivots, identify plays that everybody else is going to go, and then find somebody else that's in the same spot that nobody else is going to go to. So, just keep it in mind. Listen, following the numbers, you're doing your research, it's great. The numbers aren't always going to work. You can't just follow numbers. Like in cash games, yeah, you want to play optimal plays. You want to play the most safest plays on the board. You want to get variety. There's all different kinds of things in cash games. But in tournaments, you got to take chances. You want to take justified chances. You don't want to take like guys just to take them just because it's contrarian. There's smart contrarian, and then there's just stupid contrarian. You don't want to be stupid about it. But anyway, you need to learn some game theory. Anyway, let's talk about the next game. We got Mike Fears of the Houston Astros visiting Ian Kennedy of the Kansas City Royals. It's going to be about 86 degrees in Kansas City. Go ahead.
Well, I definitely love the Houston bats right now, and they're hot. And Springer, Correa, they're really, really coming in their own this year. So I like those bats. And as for the Royals, they're playing at home. You can always get salary relief with Alcides Escobar leading off at shortstop. So you're playing cash games and you want to play down at shortstop. He doesn't have a very high ceiling, but a lot of times he'll get you at least 2 or 3 times value. Everybody else, I don't really see anything else in that lineup, even though Fears you can hit him. It's a 9 over under, so it's not like it's a small number. So yeah, if you like any of the bats on either side, go for it. Ian Kennedy is nothing special, and I am not playing Ian Kennedy against this lineup. But I guess if you want to be contrarian and really go against the grain, Kennedy would be the play.
Yeah, man, I am not doing that, man. I love the bats in this game from both sides. I don't like Fears. I don't like Kennedy. Listen, I don't. We always talk about on the show about how Kennedy is like. He's just lucky he pitches in the right ballparks. Like he pitched in San Diego for a while. He pitches in Kansas City now. Like he knows what he's doing. He's an extreme fly ball guy. And listen, I'm gonna tell you something. Kennedy is impressive at home. Don't get me wrong. He's not just a guy that just gets hit and that's it. Over the last 2 years at home, he's got a 9.48 K per 9. That's a 25.52% K rate over the last 2 years at home. So there's something to it. On the other side, though, in general, his WOBA numbers haven't been all that impressive. That's kind of the down. 304. It's not bad, but like he's pitched better at home. Basically, is my point. Lefties is where you want to take him, but the main reason that his WOBA is down is because of the ballpark he's pitching in. He gets a lot of fly balls, and if the ball's not going to fly, now listen, if the weather's 86 degrees, Kansas City, if it gets hot over there. That ball will carry. We see how many times do we hear about this as a pitcher's park, but then when it's really hot, we see some seriously high totals there. I love the Houston bats here. I like the Kansas City bats too. Remember, Fears is like, listen, do I like Moustakas and Hosmer? Sure, I like them, but I also like Kane. I like Salvador Perez a lot. Fears is a reverse splits guy naturally. Even his road numbers are reverse splits. His road numbers over the last 2 years are reverse splits. So. I love the bats on both sides. I hope it's 86 degrees. I hope it's 90 degrees. If the hotter it is in this ballpark, the better I'm going to like it. Kennedy has great K numbers at home, but Houston's not striking out this year. Last year, they were one of the highest strikeout rate teams in the league. This year, that's not the case. They're not doing it. So, man, I'm with you, Joe. I love the bats here, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. We got J.A. Happ, the lefty from the Toronto Blue Jays, visiting Sean Manaea of the Oakland Athletics. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, this is the other pitcher that I just kind of fell on and that I am really interested in now. I don't know if people have noticed, but his last 2 outings, 55 points, both outing. Both 7 innings. He pitched against Cleveland and New York. He's playing against a Toronto ball club that just got off a big series with the Yankees. They're flying across country. He's been pitching really well. He's 7,700. I wouldn't go for him in cash. But in tournaments, this might be my main target. I think that he's a good play. Recency bias or not, you can't ignore 55 points both times, especially with the other options on this slate. And J.A. Happ is another guy that if you want to roll out in tournaments, I don't mind it. He hasn't been great this year, but he pitched pretty well last year. It depends on the lineup that the A's throw out. I imagine if he's throwing a lefty, they're going to throw all their righties out there. So the righty-heavy lineups that I like with them is like guys like Ryan Healy, Mark Canha, Chris Davis. So the bats on the A's aren't a bad option, but the A's do strike out a lot, so you can take Happ on the other side. Something that you got to look for tomorrow, but I do like Manaea a lot.
Yeah, man. You know what? I can't blame you for that. Manaea's looked really well. Really well. He's looked really good. My only and he's in Oakland. He's in the ballpark. My only concern is Houston looks like Toronto. I'm messing. I'm reading the chat and I'm talking at the same time. It's not going well. The Toronto's been heating up a little bit. Like we saw Severino kind of shut them down today, and then they just wouldn't go away, and they finally ended up doing what they had to do to put up some runs. So I think Manaea, listen, you covered yourself. You said you're not putting him in cash, you're putting him in tournaments. He's a great tournament option. He is. I mean, why not? Toronto does strike out. Yeah, they got a ton of righties, but Manaea faces a lot of righties, man. There's more righties than lefties in the league, so it's kind of what he does. So he's looked really strong, man. He's at home. I like it. On the other side too, Happ is certainly interesting. Obviously, there's a lot more concerns with Happ. There's plenty of concerns with Happ. For instance, we saw in his first start he got shelled. Second of all, we don't know how long he was going to go had he not gotten shelled. Because from what I understand, these are basically his rehab starts. So the minute they see anything, or if they if they feel like, yeah, we've seen enough, they're going to pull him. So in that sense, like it comes down to more like the bullpen. And now one thing I'll say, I know the Oakland bats have been hot. I see in the chat that Oakland's been soaring a lot lately. They have, and you're absolutely right. My only issue with Oakland is, one, the ballpark will eventually catch up to him. Two, Toronto actually has a pretty good bullpen. As of right now, based off the stats that we have, they're ranked about 5th in the league for bullpen. So that's the scary part. It's the same thing with well, you know what? I'll wait till we get there later. But the point is, my problem with the Oakland Athletics offense is, yeah, sure, you could stack them up, you could take them. The problem is, if Happ is out of there quickly, say best case scenario, they rock Happ. Once that bullpen comes in, they got a decent bullpen. So and then they're pitching in this ballpark too. So I'm not crazy about the bats on either side, particularly. I don't want to pick on Manaea, that's for sure, man. He's looked pretty good. So I'm with you, man. I think he's a great tournament play.
Yeah, and let's just check everybody. Let's just make sure Jed Lowry's 2,600. That's still perfect.
Yes,
he's not that expensive at all.
Yep.
To play him tomorrow for cash, I'm going to. It's not. There's nobody else. I guess maybe Scooter Gennett if he let off at $2,000, but
right.
2,600 is going to be the best value you're going to get
for a 3-hitter, second base 3-hitter. Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you. Mm-hmm. All right, here we go. We got Gio Gonzalez, the lefty from the Washington Nationals, visiting Hyunjin Ryu of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Ryu is in a pact of about 3 Dodger pitchers that you just don't want to roster because you don't know how long they're going to go. You got Maeda through 4 innings today, 92 pitches, and they pulled him. Ryu, he's another guy. He'll pitch 4 or 5 innings and they take him. And then McCarthy's the same type. You just don't have any longevity anymore, so you just don't know. And that's my problem with them. Gio Gonzalez. The Dodgers don't hit lefties very well, so but they will have their lefty hitter specialist. Some like CK Hernandez will be in there. So depending on his price, he's not a bad option. But Gio is a pretty decent option. I don't know if he has the ceiling to win you a GPP, but he's a pretty safe option as that goes. And as the bats for the Nats, I obviously love David Murphy. The guy, I still have nightmares about him in the NLCS for the Mets a couple years ago where he just owned the Dodgers. So he plays well in LA. So definitely like that. And I know Bryce Harper always plays well in LA. Yeah, I don't mind the Nats batters. And the Dodger bats, I'm not really interested in.
Did you hear with Bryce Harper? You know how he loves playing at Dodger Stadium. He was saying that when they asked him about his They asked him about his the suspension. Why didn't he appeal? Whatever. He was like, I'm just happy that it's over with, and I'll be back for LA. that was his response.
Well, yeah.
Listen, the Dodgers can't hit lefties, correct. However, I don't feel too comfortable with Gio in this spot. And listen, it's not Gio directly. My problem with Gio is sometimes, especially on the road, like his average inning pitch over the last couple of years is about 5.7. So you want to see a 6 or higher to feel confident with a guy going long in the games. My issue is if he ends up with a high pitch count, because he doesn't have dominant stuff, like he get, a lot of foul balls. He does occasionally walk people. The Dodgers have Forsythe back. They should have Franklin Gutierrez back, ready to play. As you mentioned, they got Enrique Hernandez. So I think we should see the Dodgers start to hit lefties a little bit, and Gio's the perfect lefty to start with. So, and here's the other thing about it, and the chat's all over this, and I'm with them. The Nationals bullpen is horrible. Did you see that game today? I know you didn't play, but did you see what happened in the A's game today? It was ridiculous.
Didn't the A's come back or something?
They came back and crazy, man. Like it was like 11-5 or something, or maybe even worse than that. And they all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. Joyce hits a grand slam. It's just crazy. It was just unbelievable, and it's because their bullpen is that bad. So Gio, I think, is a decent tournament spot. Like I think it's listen, he's okay for tournaments if you want to play the whole merit that the Dodgers are bad against lefties. I get it. But my problem is I don't think Gio is good enough for me to take a chance on the road like this. Like with these other. Listen, he seems kind of safe on paper, right? But he's still an underdog. Why is Gio an underdog to Ryu, whatever his name is? My thing, it comes down to the bullpen. If Ryu's gone in three innings, the Dodgers have the best bullpen in the league. If Gio Gonzalez is gone in the 4th or 5th, the Dodgers are going up against one of the worst bullpens in the league. They've been bad this year. I mean, just to get an idea of what they're ranking so far, their bullpen, they're ranked 26th. That's bad. That's really bad. And also Kennedy, by the way, the Kansas City Royals ranked 21st. So they're the last year with the great bullpen, that's done. But anyway, so listen, man, if you want to try Gio at 8-7, it makes sense. If you look at his game logs, you'll see. One thing I agree with you 100%, Joe. He doesn't have the ceiling for me. That's the problem with Gio. He never seems to have that ceiling. Like you very rarely, if ever, see him put up a 50 or 60 burger, right? Like he'll safely get you 30, maybe a 40, 45 or so, but that's pretty much it, right? So my concern on the road, after rambling all this time, is I like the Dodger bats because I think that once Gio's out of there, if they don't hit Gio themselves. Now my only concern with some of these guys, like for instance Franklin Gutierrez, is once Gio's pulled, I can see them using a pinch hitter or something like that. But a guy like Logan's Forsythe, they're not going to pull him. So I think he's a great one-off in tournaments. Obviously in cash, I think you still want to stick with Lowry at 2.6 because the whole point is you're trying to save money. But in tournaments, if Logan Forsythe, he's at third base. Oh, he's at third base now. Never mind. He's at third base. It don't even matter. At 3.1, listen, they brought him here specifically because he's a lefty masher. He hasn't done it. Then he got hurt. He's back. He gets Gio. I don't think Gio is that good, honestly. I think he's okay. I'm not a Gio hater. I just don't think he's that good. So, anyway. Yeah, I like the Dodger bats. I like Forsythe a lot.
Here's my biggest thing about Gio, too. He's 8,700. I'm going to pay $200 more on getting Samardzija, or I'm going to pay down to get Guerra or Manea. That's where he doesn't attract me because his price point is there's so many other guys that are just around the same. I'll take Guerra or Manea at $1,000 less, and I'll just pay up the bats, and I'll be just fine. I'll go to war that way.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, but like I prefer Samardzija and Straley over Gio personally in tournaments. If I'm doing tournaments, I prefer them both over Gio. I don't feel safe with him, especially not with that bullpen, because even if he leaves with the lead, he's probably not going to get the win. So in the end, his ceiling is really hurt. But yeah, that's a great point, Joe. So why don't we talk about some of the well, we already talked about the pitchers kind of. Well, first off, I want to say this: if you guys have any questions, go ahead and start firing them away in the chat. And we'll get ready to answer those for you guys patiently. I know there were a few coming throughout the show. But we were kind of keeping the flow going, you know what I'm saying? So we didn't get a chance to answer. But if you have any questions, go ahead and mention it. It looks like, all right. So we got one here. All right, Joe. Who is your player of the day on Washington?
I would probably. I was looking at that. I like either. I'm gonna take price in consideration too. It's not okay. So he might be out. So I was gonna say Jason Worth but he wasn't in the lineup, so he might not even be in the lineup tomorrow.
Oh wait, I think it was just rest though, wasn't it?
I don't know. I'm reading. It says foot.
Oh, is he hurt?
It says Worth was in quite a bit of pain Saturday after fouling a ball off of his foot and will sit out Sunday's contest in order to give injured foot an additional time to heal.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. So you don't know. I like him just because of the lefty-righty matchup, but if besides that, then I'm going with Trey Turner.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You know what? My problem with Trey Turner, believe it or not, is he's kind of a reverse splits guy. So and you know what? Listen, the question was from Robert Kahn in the chat, and then he also said that might be a very low-scoring game. I'm with you. I'm not crazy about the Dodger offense here, about the Nationals offense. I know they just exploded for 11 runs, and that's going to get some attention on them, but I'm not crazy about the Nationals. It's not the greatest ballpark. It's a lefty, and obviously Harper and Murphy are both lefties, two of their best hitters. Trey Turner's got reverse splits, but he's always a threat to steal the base. But mainly my main problem with the Nationals offense is right after they're done with Ryu, they're going to deal with this bullpen, and they're really good. So I'm not crazy about the National offense, but if I had to pick a guy, if Worth plays, it'd be Worth for me for sure. If Worth were to play, if not, maybe Rendon. But it's tough. I like to say Zimmerman, but I don't know, man. Like whenever I play Zimmerman against a lefty, he lets me down. He only does good for me against righties. Like today, I played him against Sonny Gray. He did okay for me. But here's a question we got from our man Mr. Cuse, DFS Syracuse. He's been inconsistently. What's going on, Cuse? He says, when building 50 lineups, do you hand build or use an optimizer? I feel like most optimizers stink for multiple lineup stacks.
Well, I'd love to answer this question, Mr. Orangeman, but I've never built 50 lineups before. So I would say, Fuego, if you're still in here, maybe you could type something. That's why I said, Fuego, are you still in here? But I would think that the optimizer would help because the one that I use, you can build 50 lineups and you can kind of toy with what you want and how many stacks and how many players you want and which stacks you like, and then they build it for you. So I think that it's definitely gives you a good basis to me. Yeah. I think when I do jump up and do that, I will use the optimizer.
Yeah, my experience in making, 25, 50 lineups, whatever it is, I like to do about half and half. The reason I do half and half is because there are some players that I know my human brain will just not let. It's just too illogical, and I will not click that player's name. So that's where an optimizer comes in handy. It'll randomize it for you. If you're doing it for tournaments, which I would imagine if you're doing 50 lineups, it's for tournaments, it'll kind of randomize that for you. You just tell the teams you want, the players you're interested in, and it'll kind of mix it up for you. But at the same time, I don't want a computer completely randomizing everything. I still want to have control of at least half of that because I want to be able to still use my mind, my own personal game theory. I want to be able to find my own pivots, etc. Is that your dog, Joe?
That's my dog. Sorry. He's got something in his throat, so he's got like a hairball or something. Sorry, everybody.
It's funny though. It's so funny though.
I'm trying to turn it down like you can hear it. Oh boy. Dang it.
I thought it was you agreeing with me, yeah.
No. There's another question here, Mr. D. Patrick. What do you sabermetric do you prefer to gauge a starting pitcher, XFIP or Sierra? I use Sierra.
Sierra is a good one. I love Sierra. XFIP is also good because I think XFIP is they're actually two different things. Sierra is telling you what the guy has done up to this point, right? What his true ERA is up to this point, according to Sierra metrics. The XFIP is different from the actual FIP. The XFIP is supposed to be more of a predictive stat. It's supposed to tell you where he should be, where he's projected to be based off how he's pitched now. So I personally use them together. How do I do that? With the WiseTake model that we're having built. Honestly, a big part of our pitcher ratings is both Sierra and X because they're both very important. But to answer your question, I use them both in conjunction. I look at Sierra to see how has he done to this point. I look at xFIP. Do I think he can keep this up? That's more or less how I use it. Now, listen, there's a lot of games and it's a long time, so it's not an exact science. It's not like, oh, okay, he's projected to do crappy, so I'm going to start targeting against him. No, I got to see his hard contact rates going up. I got to see several other factors. There's so many different things that tie into it. And that's why we do these podcasts to try to help break down some of the stuff for you guys on our first take. And hopefully when we get the site up and launching and everything's running, you'll be able to check out some of the awesome tools that we have and kind of simplify that research process. So that's something that we are working on. But it's a great question. Any other questions before we play some Dong Watch?
The one thing I'll say about Sierra is that, just to let you know, I like Sierra's because it shows you whether or not the pitcher is getting lucky or not. Like if you see a pitcher with a low ERA but his Sierra is high, that is telling you that he's been fairly lucky and they're hitting the ball hard, and it should, you should still target him. Conversely, if you have a guy with a higher ERA but his Sierra is low, that means he's getting unlucky. Yeah. So maybe you don't target him. So that's the biggest gauge that I look for when it comes to Sierra.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. That's what the Sierra is for. The ERA has so many different numbers that can come into play that really aren't the pitcher's fault. And the Sierra is designed to kind of really cut the fat, so to speak, and tell you, has he really been good? You can have a guy with an ERA of like 8, but his Sierra is like 3.5, and it kind of tells you, okay, he's just had a tough break. Like he's actually pitching pretty well, and they, it's that's how it should be. Yeah, okay. So I didn't see any other questions. You see any other questions out there?
No, I did not.
All right. Awesome. All right. So you want to play some Dong Watch, Joe, and get out of here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right,
you go first. You never go first. I want you to go first.
You and Fuego always trying to turn the page on me, man. Catch me off guard.
I just want you to go first this time. It's okay, because you always started at the 8-ball. You can pick Bryce Harper for Mr. Matt.
No.
You can do that.
I don't want Bryce Harper against this bullpen or against the lefty. I don't want him. I don't want him. I'll go first, but I'm gonna go on the other side. I'm gonna go with Logan Forsythe against Gio. I gotta stick to my guns on this one.
Nice. And I'm going to go with the kid, Cody Bellinger, hitting a home run, but off one of those terrible relievers, not Gio. So if he hits a home run, still it's like a half off of Gio, but it's going to come off of one of those bad relievers in like the 6th or 7th inning.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
You get one more. Go ahead.
All right. And then my second one is going to be, let's see here. Oh, no. I just saw this. Marwin Gonzalez is 4,300.
Wow.
On FanDuel, in between Votto and Rizzo. I'm taking Rizzo tomorrow. Rizzo is my second guy for a home run.
Rizzo?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna leverage that play. I'm gonna take Marwin Gonzalez, and I'm gonna take him. You know why? Because it's a game theory play. Listen, it might not happen, but it's a game theory play. Think of it this way: you just mentioned he's between Rizzo, Votto, and.
But he's gonna have. Unless it's in a stack.
What's that?
He's in between Votto, Rizzo, and then Zimmerman's even behind him. So the only way that they're going to play him is in a stack.
Yeah, they're not going to play him, especially if he's batting 7th, which he's projected to bat, which I don't know if he will. But if he's in the lower, who's going to do that? They can get Votto hitting 3rd. They can get like all these other, not to mention they're playing at Kansas City. So from a game theory perspective, he's been playing well. His numbers back it up. If you look at his numbers, he's been playing well enough that it's not crazy. Last year, I would have never thought about playing this guy. But this year, he's been playing well. So it's like I think Donaldson hit a home run today. You know why Donaldson hit a home run today? Because he was against Severino, and nobody was going to play him. That's why he hit a home run today. So, yeah, I'm going to go with wait, who did I just say? Marwin Gonzalez. Okay. All right.
One more.
I get one more now. Okay.
One more, yeah.
All right. I'm going to stick with this game, and I'm going to go with my man Sal Perez against Fears here. I like this game.
All right, and I'm going to go a little bit off the grid, but I'm still going to target a big game, but I'm not going to target a lefty in this game. I'm going to target a professional hitter going against my dog's going again. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like big. Howie Kendrick is going to hit a home run against Bartolo Colon.
Oh, I can't believe I didn't take anybody against Colon.
That's what I said. I had to pick one, and I'm like, I know all the other ones, but you know what? Howie's like a professional hitter. Yeah. I could see him just turning on one and hitting one out. So
he's been hot since he's been back. He's been pretty hot since he's been back. All right, listen, guys. Those of you who joined us, we had a lot of people watching us live today, man. It was a lot of fun. Love you guys for coming out, man. It's a great time, these live shows. And listen, man, stay tuned to us. We got a lot of great things coming. Joe, always appreciate it when you come on, man. We have a blast on these live shows, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, and everybody joining us tonight. We really do appreciate it. I love the questions. I love giving back to this DFS community. So, guys, hit me up on Twitter. Follow me, asking me questions all the time. I'm on my phone a lot. So, yeah, guys, thank you very much. Thank you, CK.
Oh, no. The pleasure's all mine, brother. Listen, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button, man. It means a lot to us. Subscribe to the show. Tell us about this, man. Spread the word. We're a big WiseTake family. We just want as many people to share this wonderful entertainment with as possible. But thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you're listening on Podbean, please obviously watch us on YouTube. The live shows are fun. But if you're listening on Podbean, you obviously couldn't watch it live. So it's all good. Thanks for listening anyway. Give us a follow there. If you're listening on iTunes, subscribe to the channel. I should say. And obviously, give us some positive reviews. Bump us up those iTunes charts. On iTunes, I think it's like you get more reviews and you start, they'll put you in more stuff. So do me a favor. Go on to iTunes on the audio version and just write us some awesome reviews. Give us some 5-star reviews. Bump us up those charts. Anyway, guys, like I said, a lot of great things coming, man. If you want to follow Joe on Twitter, that's at Patio Joe Ref. You can follow me at CK013. And, of course, follow the WiseTake Twitter. All the podcasts are posted there. And you're going to hear all the awesome information that's coming with the team's WiseTake. That's at Wise_Take. That's at Wise_Take. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. It was awesome to start off this week. And for Joe, I should say, and for myself, as always, good luck.
Peace.